Explain that all points on an exponential graph are solutions. We're pretty good with that. And you can find the average rate of change over a specific interval from a graph to a table or a table. So here's the thing. What do we know about rate of change? Please tell me what the rate of change means. Raise your hand and tell me what rate of change even means. Yeah.
Rise over run.
Rise over run. Another word for it is slope. It's a change in y over a change in x. Linear rate of change is always the slope, which is always the constant, which makes it the same. So linear is always constant. Will exponentials have a constant rate of change?
No. Probably not.
No, because it's a curve. It's not a line. That is why it's called an average rate of change, because you're looking at what's happening over certain intervals. So you're really finding like the line segment that connects the 2 points to find about what the rate of change is. So it says, the following graph shows the number of bacteria Y. So I'm going to put number of bacteria here. Over time in hours. So this will allow me to know what my rate of change means, because rate of change is a change in y over a change in x. So what are we finding? What are our units on all of our rates of changes? What does all of our rate of changes mean with units? If it's y over x. Y over x. What does y mean? Yeah. What does y mean? Amount of bacteria per hour. So it's amount of bacteria per hour. Okay, guys. You need to know what your rate of change means. This was part of your last test. You had to explain what your slope or rate of change meant on your line of best fit. It is important that you understand it's y over x, a change in y over a change in x. That rise over run. It's important that you understand that rate of change has units to it, and you always do the y value over the x value. It's a rate, so you use words like per, right? So it's important to do this because if there's ever units on something, you must give the units. All right? Do you understand that? Okay, so it says find the rate of change from A to B. So A has a point of what? What is my point at A, Alyssa? This is 2. Yeah, it's counting by halves. So that's half 1, 1 and a half 2. So that's 0, 1. And what is my point at B? What is my point at B, Emma?
2, 4.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I was looking at it. No. Okay. You need to be focusing right now. How do we find the rate of change? Jordan?
Just do that thingy where it's like y2 minus y1 or something like that.
Yeah, you can find the rate of change by subtracting. Some of you guys like to stack them. You will get the same answer either way. Okay? But that is how many bacteria per what?
3 hours.
So 3
Bacteria.
You would write that as 3 bacteria per hour. So we're saying from here to here, the average rate of change is 3 bacteria per hour. That's just an average rate of change because it changes over time, right?
Right.
But on average, that is what's happening in those 2 hours. Yes.
Isn't it 3 over 2? Yeah, it's 3 over 2.
Because 2 minus 0 is 2.
Good point.
Come on, Lexi. Why can't it be a whole number?
I wish. I was just confused.
No, I get it. So that would be 1.5 bacteria per hour. Can we do decimals in this situation?
Yeah, sure.
Only in context, right? Typically, slope needs to be an improper fraction unless it's in context. So, on average, it's growing at 1.5 bacteria per hour. Thank you, Lexi. All right. How about from B to C? We know B is 2, 4. Josh, what is C? What is the point C at?
3, 8.
3, 8. It is hard to see. So then we find the rate of change, and hopefully I can do this time. So that's 8 minus 4 over 3 minus 2, which is 4 over 1. What is the meaning of that, RC?
4 bacteria per hour.
Good. So on average, between those 2 points, it's growing 4 bacteria per hour. That is just an average rate of change because really this line here is not really, do you see the red line's kind of behind it here? It's not really following that whole piece there. So that's why it's an average rate of change. You're saying on average that's what's happening over that time. Does it make sense that it's a higher number here than here based on our slope of these 2 lines?
Yeah.
Yeah, the slopes of those 2 lines, the 4 is steeper than that 1.5, which makes sense, okay? So from A to C, A is at 0, 1. And C is at 3, 8. So we can find the slope there by doing 8 minus 1 over 3 minus 0, which is 7 over 3, which is 2 1/3, right? So that's 2.3. Repeat it, but we'll round it. So, Mike, 2.3 what? What is my unit?
Bacteria per hour.
I spelled bacteria wrong. So again, this is in between the 2. So you'll notice if I plot that slope, it is less steep than this slope that's almost straight up and down, but it's more steep than that one. All right. Questions on finding the average rate of change so far? Pick your head up. Questions on finding the average rate of change? Boys. Boys. Okay, the graph shows the Y value of car in thousands, so thousands of dollars. So value of car over X number of years. So what is my unit for this one? What is my unit for this one when I'm talking about the rate of change? The change in Y over the change in X, Lexi.
Car value per year.
So it's a money amount, right? Per year, or the car value per year. So it's a dollar amount per year, or car value per year. Okay. This is an interval. Not an ordered pair. This is an interval, not an ordered pair. So you have to create the ordered pair from that interval. Does that look familiar? Because it should.
No.
We did this when we did lines, Connor.
No.
Does that jog your memory at all? A lot of you struggled with it, but hopefully since this is the second time you've seen it now in your life, it will make more sense, right? That's the hope. So our X values here, it's finding the average rate of change from -1 to 0. They're both domain values, so an X value to an X value. So we have -1 comma something and 0 comma something.
Oh, I see.
It's an X value to another X value. So we're saying when X is -1, what is your output? And when X is 0, what is your output? So Riley, when X is -1, what is my output? Good. And Colin, when X is 0, what is my output?
Alright. It is 1.
Okay, so then we can find the slope. So that's 1 minus 3 over 0 minus a -1, which is -2 over 1.
How did you get those numbers?
X is -1.
Yeah.
Follow that up, and that's at 3.
Oh.
And X is 0. Follow that up, and you get 1.
Okay.
And then I did the slope. Does it make sense that it's negative?
Yep.
Yeah, it's going down. So what does that mean in context? What does that mean in context? Yes, Jordan.
Each year the car price is going up like that.
By what? How many thousand? Negative 2,000, right? This says the value of the car in thousands. So this means negative 2,000. You see? So it's losing value by $2,000 per year. Why didn't I make that negative there? Why didn't I make that 2,000 negative there, Riley?
Because you can't. I mean, it doesn't really make sense.
Why doesn't it make sense, guys? Why doesn't it make sense to make that negative?
You don't have negative $2,000.
Well, you can, but it's.
Yeah, because you don't. Yeah.
What word is in there that implies that it's negative? It says losing $2,000 per year. It's talking about a value of a car. Cars depreciate pretty quickly. So depreciating means going down. So cars depreciate pretty quickly. So it's saying that you bought a car for X amount of money, we'll say like $20,000, and it's losing that value $2,000 per year. So if you go to try to sell that, it will only be worth $18,000 next year. Does that make sense? Okay, so losing implies this is negative. So if I did losing value by negative $2,000, that's a double negative. Does it make sense to do a double negative? I don't even know what word you just said there. Okay, we're going to do an x value to another x value. So Connor Clover, when x is negative 2, what is my y value? When x is negative 2, what is... And when x is negative 1, Connor? Not you. Thank you. Okay, so then we do our subtraction. So 3 minus 9 over negative 1 minus a negative 2. So that's negative 6 over 1. So what does that mean in context, Jana? Losing value by $6,000 per year. Okay, so we have to read the graph from left to right when we do this. So do you guys see that 6,000 goes to 2,000 if you're going left to right because negative 2 is farther to the left?
Yeah.
Okay, so what is it depreciating by? What is the value it's depreciating by? Think about exponentials. Exponentials have to do with multiplication. What number is multiplied by 6,000 to get to 2,000? Not 3, a third. So it is depreciating by a value of 1/3 because 6,000 times 1/3 is 2,000. So you'll say here the comparison is it's depreciating by a value by a factor of 1/3. There's some random box on here to draw pictures in, I guess. Alright. Hand turkeys. Alright. Questions so far? Some of you are still writing, but are there questions so far? No. You see what we're doing? Yeah, there's only 2 more. Plus a blank one. All right. Function notations from graphs.
Yes. I already did the homework. Why do I still do it? I don't get my spreadsheet.
I'm trying to talk.
You saw me? What? I don't know.
So find f of 7. Find f of 7. What does that even mean to do? Who remembers what that means? Mike, what does that mean?
Years.
Okay, so 7 is the time in years, so that's your input, which means time in years. So what is your output?
Output would be whatever.
Okay, how many cell phone users is there?
16,000.
It's,
14,000.
but it's not exact, is it?
Oh, whoops, I looked at the wrong one.
15.
14.
That'd be somewhere around 14,000. So I would say about 14,000 because that is at an exact point.
No.
I just put a lot of words in one sentence there. So, is that at an exact 14,000?
No.
No, so we're going to use the word about. So, in 7 years, there will be about 14,000 cell phone users. All right, guys, look at that and see if you even know what I did. Look at that and see if you're confused on how I even got that number or if you understand.
I got you.
Okay, then, Josh. All right, find f of x equals 44,000. 44,000, is that the input or the output?
That's the
It's outside, it's the output. What does our output mean?
That's the number.
Why?
So that's number of cell phone users. So it's asking what year there will be 44,000 cell phone users. So in what year will there be 44,000 cell phone users, Connor?
9.
So it's probably around 9 years. And that's another estimate. I can't tell if that's at an exact point or not. Is it at an
I
exact
don't
point?
know.
It definitely.
It looks like it's a little bit below.
Yeah.
So in about 9 years, there will be 44,000 cell phone users. I don't know. It's to draw pretty pictures on. Tenari was going to draw a hand turkey on there.
Well, not just the tan turkey.
That was not where you were supposed to draw the hand turkey. The hand turkey was supposed to go in that box.
What box?
Why doesn't your hand fit in that box?
Not if you make it believe.
It's impossible.
No, it's not.
It's not for me.
If you believe or not.
All right. His hand takes up the whole page.
Yeah.
All right. One more problem. You ready?
There's a rover on
There's so much to
Gosh,
do.
I know you have a break, but we need to focus here. So an antique shop has a very valuable necklace. The figure provided is the graph of V equals F of N, where V is the total, I think that's supposed to say value of the necklace after N number of years. So the value is in like dollar amounts and the age of the necklace is in years. So estimate F of 40 and explain its meaning in context, Grace. So F of 40. What does that mean in context if that's your input? Estimate. So say a sentence for me. 1 second. Guys.
Y'all shut up. Thank you.
Okay, Grace, what is the sentence you're going to say here? After 40 years, the value of the necklace will be about $5,000. Questions on how that was found? Guys, do we have questions on how that was found?
No, I made a hand turkey.
All right. Alyssa, for approximately which n value, which year is it 6,000?
About 40 days.
Well, I asked Alyssa, so.
Okay, well.
So you did say about what?
45.
That's fine. It's an estimate, right? About 45, about 44. Both of you are estimating. You don't know exactly, do you?
No.
Okay. So say that as a sentence, Alyssa. So if the value of the necklace is $6,000, what do you want to say?
It will be 45 after 45 years.
About 45 years. The value of the necklace is $6,000 after about 45 years.
You have to own it for 45 years. How much did it cost?
Well, it says the original cost is down here. It looks like the original cost was $1,000.
That's not worth it. I ain't keeping that thing.
First of all, it could be like a family heirloom that is passed down.
Oh shoot, that's worth a lot of stuff.
You probably shouldn't know.
Why?
It's not like you because they're important to your family.
So.
It's hard, he doesn't care.
My money.
My money and I need it now.
All right. So we know that these are x values to an x value. So we know we need to find the ordered pairs. So it's 0, comma something and 20, comma something. Cassie, what are my ordered pairs? And? Yeah, it's about 2,000. We'll just estimate that. We can't really tell exactly, right? So that's what we're going to say. So we do our slope. Is that 50? But what does 50 mean? Tell me the sentence, Tanari.
For every one, isn't it for every y?
So y is what? So it's 50. What's the unit on 50? It's y over x, so it's 50 per.
Age of
Okay, but it's not antiqueness. It increases $50 per year. Years is on the x, so it's just y over x. So it increases $50 per year. So the age of antiqueness is is years. So increases $50 per year. Just look at the unit on there, not like the whole entire, you know what I mean? Okay, so we do the same thing here. We know 20 is at about 2,000. What is 40 at?
5,000.
Yeah, it's at about 5,000. Guys, it's hard to understand when you're not paying attention.
Why?
Still, my statement stands. I think that's right. Is it 150?
Yep.
Okay, what does that mean with units, Connor?
It increases $150 every year.
Okay,
Hey, I know I'm going to.
so what do you guys notice about the rate of change from C to D? How much do you think it's multiplying by about? It's growing by a factor of It is growing by a factor of 3.
Oh. What?
Because 5 times 3 equals 16.
Oh. And factor is the multiplication.
Yep. All right. Let me get the homework out so that